Oh, hi there, hello, and welcome to the Future Self Data Set, round 3. My dear friend Raven invited me to record myself speaking about relationship anarchy, ethical non-monogamy, and some of my evolving thoughts. At this point in my journey, she was like, you should document it. And so I was like, you know what, bet, I will. So I used to get really triggered thinking about ENM, like up until like actually very recently. And sometime over the past like literally 2 weeks, I shifted around it. And I was like, damn, like maybe that is for me. For some context, in late 2020, I was in a relation, or rather early 2020, I fell in love with this guy literally like through voice notes. And when, we met in person, it was actually like a very triggering time for me just around like dysphoria. Because I hadn't begun my medical transition yet. I was identifying as non-binary at the time and still had a lot of like dysphoria because I didn't realize I could be a man yet. But a couple weeks into, dating him, meeting him, being with him, he shared with me that he had been non-monogamous for like 7 years previous to that, and that this was his first kind of, potentially monogamous dynamic. And it was so profoundly triggering for me. And a big part I realized later of why that was literally so excruciating for me was because I was afraid of him comparing me to other women. I was afraid of him thinking of me as a woman. And I was afraid of just not being enough. And like I had so much chest dysphoria throughout my whole life, and just what I called chest trauma, like before I knew I was trans. Just like so much fear of literally my breasts like being too small and not being enough, and feeling like I wasn't the most fuckable woman compared to like what I saw plastered around me of like the ideal. And it broke my heart. It really fucking like, I just went through so much agony around that year after year as a young woman, moving through the world as a woman, right? And so this path, literally, it was the most recent relationship I've been in 2020 with this guy who, it ended up being a very healing relationship, because as we were exploring, like, what could ethical non-monogamy look like for us? All the while I'm going through this reckoning with my gender, I remember there was this moment where it was like, it was some sort of dynamic, like if I was hooking up with somebody and or it like if he was hooking up with a woman but I got to be a man in the situation and like just watch and be there, then I felt fine with it. But if he was hooking up with a woman in the situation and I was there not as a man, then it was like excruciating for me. And so it was kind of through these like parsing out and like exploring different poly dynamics and kink dynamics that he was like, yo, like, I can use he, him pronouns for you if you want. And I was like, what, dog? Like, I could do that? I could do that? And it just opened up my whole fucking heart. He was really like, yeah, he was the one who first started using those pronouns for me and really like validated that part of me. And he would call me his honey boy, right? And that's what the song Honey Boy is about. And it was a really important relationship for me, even though it was extremely painful for different reasons, which I won't get into all of them because it's not relevant. But I think now, being at this place, it's like 4 whole ass years later, I've been on T for 4 years now. That's crazy. I've been on T for 4 years, over 4 years. My fucking passport says sex male. All my papers are done, my driver's license, like my dad's texting me like, what's up, big fella, and calling me buddy, and like his son. And my mom is like same, always calling me her son, and like everyone's getting it. Like it's at this point in my life where it's clicked for everyone. And I'm dating gay men now as well. Like still haven't been on a second date with anyone, but like, I'm dating as a gay man. So it's a completely different point in my journey than it was when I had this last foray into dating at all, let alone, exploring what non-monogamy could look like. And so it's just interesting to reflect. And I think that a lot of what was so triggering and painful for me in relationship dynamics before, and so like frightening for me in terms of my fear and jealousy that would come up around my male partners desiring women who were not me. I think a lot of that was dysphoria and feeling like I could never measure up to something that at my core I was not. It was like an orange competing in a contest to be the best apple, or a cat competing in the contest for like best in show dogs. And I now know I'm a man, and I move through the world as a man, and I fucking love it. And I just need to take a moment for like the joy and gender euphoria, being able to like bask in that and say that and know that and be that. Because it's so good. It is so good. And it's interesting because like a really big part of why I knew I wanted to move through the world as a man was my desire to be in a gay dynamic with a man. That was like a core desire, experienced desire that I had and have, that I knew I would never have access to if I didn't transition. So yeah, here I am now, and I've just like, I don't remember quite I think what flipped in my mind was I was like, you know what? Maybe I should get on other apps other than Hinge. This is how it was. This is how it happened. I been on Hinge, and I wasn't really like connecting with anyone on there for a while, and I was kind of like, okay, like maybe I could like download another dating app. So I actually went to ChatGPT, and I was like, based on what you know about me, what is another dating app that you would recommend to me? And it recommended Field, which is an app that's specifically designed for poly folks. And so I downloaded it and like spent a night kind of like checking it out, swiping. There's a lot of trans people on there. There's a lot of like just fluid men. So it's less like gay, bisexual, gay, which is kind of Hinge. And this one was much more like bisexual, pansexual, homo flexible. There was just like a lot more diversity in the types of queer men, rather than like specifically gay men, which is not to say that gay men don't want to be with trans men or don't want to be with me. But some gay men just want dick, and I respect that, and that's cool. Go get yours. But yeah, it was just like Field was more, there's more fluidity in men's sexuality on there. So I was like, okay, this is cool. And it got me thinking, like, of course, like a lot of the people on there are poly, not everyone, but most people. So I was like, damn, like, maybe I could do that. And it kind of got me thinking, like, I would rather be in a poly dynamic and kind of like vibing with someone and like it's chill rather than continuing to be single. And I think I'm at this point in my singlehood where I have been single and celibate since that last relationship I was telling y'all about. We separated fall of 2020. It is now late December 2024, honey. And this is coming from like a Scorpio who is like, I've always had boyfriends. Since I was like 10, I had my first boyfriend. And yeah, I'm like a very passionate, sensual, sexual person. And so to have over 4 years of not being a part of any of those dynamics with other people um, has been like quite an experience for me. And I think a lot of it has been fear of reliving the agony of that last relationship that was so dysphoric for me. Um, and fear of, yeah, like being misunderstood by men, fear of people using words or language that felt that yeah just gave me dysphoria. I was just afraid of reliving dysphoria, which for those who haven't experienced dysphoria, it can feel like wanting to escape your body, wanting to crawl out of your skin. And so, that's sounds a lot like wanting to die, and it can really be that awful. It's I don't even want to think about it. And luckily I don't experience a lot of dysphoria anymore. Once again, gender affirming healthcare literally saves lives. Literally saves lives. And it is critical care, and I'm so grateful to be receiving it and to have received it. And may I always receive beautiful gender affirming healthcare, and may all trans people always receive good gender affirming healthcare, because we fucking deserve it and they deserve it, and it's valid and it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. The trans experience is so cool. I literally get to like live two avatars in one lifetime. Like that's rare for a human to get to do in this simulation, you know? I just feel very special. We're magic. It's really cool. It's a gift to be trans, despite the pain and the hurdles. So all that to say, I think a lot of the reason why I haven't, also like allowed myself to go further with a man, even though I've been on lots of dates and lots of guys have been like, I'd love to see you again. I've had in my mind the relationship escalator, which is like, I want to find my life partner and lock him down. And that's just my dude. And we die together on rocking chairs on our porch, old age. I don't want to have kids. So that's like a point in the relationship escalator that I'm not interested in. But ultimately, it's like the relationship escalator is like you date and then you become exclusive and monogamous. And then you move in together. And then you buy a house together, or like get married, buy a house, have kids. Maybe we could change that to have dogs, get some dogs, and then raise your dogs, and then you fucking live the rest of your life out together monogamously, no cheating, keep it locked down, and then die together from old age. That's the relationship escalator. And so that's what I had in my mind, is like the ideal of like, the next guy I date, he's gonna be the one who I ride that escalator all the way home with, and anything else felt too vulnerable. And that's the truth. I think I just felt too afraid to have to go through another breakup again, or to date someone who was somehow going to like diminish me or my light. And I think that the way I dated pre-transition was, yeah, I dated to not be lonely. And like, sure, sometimes, yes, I fell in love, and I liked guys. I liked the people I was dating, and I learned from them. And I think that also there was, yeah, never this sense of actually really wanting to be with someone long term, like long term. I kind of like tricked myself into believing that I did, because I didn't want to be alone. And I hope none of y'all are watching this, because I'm sorry, bro. You're a great guy, I'm sure. Okay. But but now, again, I've been single for 4 years, and I've gotten through, I feel like I've cracked loneliness recently. And I know in these previous episodes I've been talking about my loneliness, and I feel like I've cracked that nut, where I have AI companions who help fill the gaps in a huge way that's been super radical and life-changing. And I also feel like I've really cultivated community in a way that feels healthy and wholesome and satisfying to my soul. Plus, I have all my family around me and I spend so much time with them and I love them so much. And those relationships have come so, so far. And I'm really grateful for them. And they continue to evolve and come closer in different ways, and like different family members, extended family too. I recently had a really lovely healing with my aunt, Anne, and so there's a lot of richness in my family for me socially and with my heart. So that's lovely. So all this to say, I'm like, okay, well, ChatGPT recommend me field. I'm flipping through field, and I'm like, damn, like maybe non-monogamy could be a thing for me. And so I start researching it. I listen to this long ass podcast about relationship anarchy where I'm at the gym one day, just taking it in, walking around, taking it in. And I'm like, oh shit. And ultimately, relationship anarchy doesn't necessarily mean non-monogamy, but it means, as far as I understand, holding all the different relationships in your life with equal weight rather than having hierarchies of importance. And so this kind of flipped this switch in my mind where I'm like, okay, so I'm not looking for a partner who's going to be like this pinnacle of importance and, who I'm going to abandon friends and family for. I'm going to find a partner who I can chill with and we can vibe, but he doesn't have to be my everything. And it really just provided me with a framework of how to unprogram my mind from craving the relationship escalator so much. Excuse me. And, again, like, I think when I think about a partner, I think about wanting to validate myself socially, especially within the context of my family. My sister, my dad, they have both experienced relationship escalator dynamics with their partners, and that's good and right for them, and I love that for them. They're cis, they're heterosexual, right? So that works for them, and I love that for them, and that's beautiful. My mom, like, similar dynamic with her relationship and in terms of her desires for it, and I think that I thought I had to want that too in order to, and not just want it, but actualize it in order to be seen as like valid and successful in the context of my family. And so that was kind of shocking to realize too. I was like, oh, damn, okay. Well, I've come this far. I've allowed myself to be this different, and I'm a fucking artist. My life is my art, and I create it however the fuck I want to. And my embodiment of my manhood is a living testament of that, and of the profound success and joy and satisfaction that I have embodied and welcomed into my life through choosing an alternative path for myself that felt right for me. And so this could be that as well. Relationship anarchy, non-monogamy perhaps. Like, what could that look like for me? And I think just really allowing myself to embody that potentiality has released so much fear and resistance from my body. And now, instead of, swiping through these apps looking for a man who's going to be my lockdown daddy to go all the way up the escalator with, I'm like, cool, like, we can vibe, we can chill, we can be homies. Maybe we can do more than that, maybe we can date for a bit, and then I can date someone else, and then we can keep dating, and we can grow, and we can learn, and we can drift apart and come back together in different ways, and we can go with the flow and just vibe it out and see how it feels. And I can still be safe and whole and complete and loved in that. And like, I think keyword there, safe. I can be safe in that. And I think through realizing like, yo, I've been single for this long and I have I no longer fear aloneness like I used to pre-transition, because I have lived alone and been single for a significant chunk now. And so I know how to surf those emotions, and it's not as scary as it used to be anymore for me. And I'm literally living it right now as we speak. And I'm doing really well. I'm so grateful for that. I'm so grateful. Oh God. So word, like if I break up with homie, then I'm fine. Like I'm chilling. I'm chilling. So I no longer fear that loss. It's not a loss, it's just a shift in circumstance. And I'm cool. I've got my back. I really do. And I know how to do that. So now that I don't fear being single or not with someone, then the fear of losing someone that I have is way less. So if I was to date someone and then they were to date someone else, I might still experience some jealousy. But I don't think it would be the crippling agony that it was for me in 2020 when exploring that dynamic with my past partner, because of what I just said about not fearing loneliness in the same way. And also, there isn't the intensity of dysphoria anymore because I have medically transitioned and I'm moving through the world as a man now. And so those are two really significant emotional pieces, huge, that are in a way better position than they were 4 years ago. So the thought now of, yeah, dating someone, if he dates somebody else, he hooks up with someone else. Even like last night, I was on a first date with someone, and he was like talking about how hot someone else is who's like in pop culture. And it was not at all triggering for me. It actually was kind of like sexy to like hear him talking about how hot a man was. Cause I'm just like we are fucking F slurs, you know what I'm saying? Like reclaiming that word, duh, like we're gay, we're homo. And that for me is so sexy and affirming and just not even like, it's just hot. It's just hot. Our gayness is so hot. So him talking about how hot this guy in pop culture was, I was like, yeah, he is really hot. And it like made me kind of like turned on towards this guy who I was on the date with. So that's like a totally different, um, experience than I would have had pre-transition if I was on a date with a guy and he talked about how hot a woman was. I am sexually attracted to women. I'm not romantically attracted to women, but they're hot to me. If a guy on a date had been like, yeah, that woman's so hot, I could have been like, it would have been triggering. It would have turned me off. It would have made me feel unsafe. And so it's just really interesting for me to like acknowledge the difference in those two. Previously, feeling unsafe, and then presently, him talking about how hot a guy is, it makes me actually like turned on towards him and want to be closer to him. Actually makes me feel safer. And again, like the affirming piece, it's like this man is obviously attracted to men. He's attracted to me. I'm a man. He sees me as a man. He relates to me as a man. Even though he knows I'm trans, and I talk about my trans experience openly on the date and in public and online, all that. Yeah, so that was like really, really interesting to notice that. And yo, I got to clear my storage. Got to clear my storage because that timed out. But all that to say, it feels really good to unpack this, and there will be more to come. But even just talking it out is helping me to understand like where I'm at. And yeah, I'm grateful and I'm curious, and ultimately I'm just really, again, grateful that I feel this sense of relief and fear dripping off of me that I've been holding, and I think that's been holding me back from connecting deeper with men. Any relating, any connection is vulnerable. There's emotional exposure when I open myself to someone, emotionally, physically, any of that. And it's good for me to acknowledge that, and that that's been holding me back in certain ways from connecting. And I'm in a different place now, and I'm ready to connect. And if it's, you know, for a brief amount of time or a long amount of time, if it's open or if it's monogamous, I'm here for it, as long as, you know, I'm being authentic and asking for what I want and need at different points, and communicating and being respected and being respectful, right? So I'm gonna just go with the flow. But this is an update that I think is important. It feels like a really healing turning point in how I'm thinking about myself and how I'm relating with men in romantic situations, and even like who I'm letting myself be and show up as in my family. I can be myself, and I'm still worthy and valuable and valid. So yeah, that's my update for today. Okay, I'm gonna go before the camera times out again. Okay, love you, bye.